All right. Hello, Internet. Wow, I regret saying that already. I will, I will try to refrain from ever opening that way again. Anyway, that being said, this is officially the first live stream drawing of the Floof and Feathers webcomic series. Uh, So if you're someone who is familiar with my work, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. If you are someone new, just kind of stumbling in by chance, just want to say a quick welcome. Really appreciate you stopping by. I write and illustrate this webcomic series. Is inspired mainly by somewhat real life events of our pets. Uh, However, this series that I'm currently doing is actually one of the few that was not inspired by real life. Uh, this is instead the sort of, I guess you could call it the quintessential Willy Wonka parody. It seems like every series always eventually ends up with a parody of the Willy Wonka, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory story. So, that's what I'm doing here. It's a similar idea with our pets. Finnegan, our oldest dog, is playing the part of Willy Wonka in this series, and he is giving his little brother Pippin a tour of the amazing kibble factory instead of the chocolate factory. And if you've read the comic before, if you're kind of familiar with how things go, you can probably already get an idea of the sorts of things that are going to happen. If not, though, if you're new, if you have not read the comic before, then I encourage you to stick around and see what happens. It should be interesting. But yeah, this one is not inspired entirely by true events. It was just kind of that idea of, oh, I should do the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory parody. So that's exactly what I'm doing with this. The previous two installments in this series, we had Pippin finding the golden ticket in his breakfast bowl, and then was introduced to Finnegan dressed up in his bow tie and his top hat. You'll see the top hat coming along here in a sec. Um, but introducing him to the wonderful kibble factory, which really was just a cardboard box fort that he had built in the kitchen. But now we're going to get into some more of the whimsy, fantastical elements that I think we're all familiar with from the story. Everything from here on out, the idea is that it's going to be kind of all seen in their realm of imagination. The events taking place are going to be greatly exaggerated, but that's all part of the fun. What I'm doing here is also just putting down the initial sketch layer. The final comic is not outlined in red. This is really just to give myself an idea of where all the shapes and characters and everything are going to go. Give me a chance to lay everything out first before I do the inking, the coloring. That way I can play around with it a little bit, make some mistakes, and just sort of fix things as I go. Also, on a similar note, if you're, for anyone watching, I just want to say thank you for being here and for sticking around with me. This is, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is my first time not only doing a live stream of drawing one of my comics. This is actually my first time live streaming on Twitch for anything. So it is going to be very much a little bit of a learning process. Um, but that I just think that seems to be what I do well at is just sort of jumping into something without really having a full understanding of what I'm getting myself into, and just sort of learning as I go. That's what makes it fun and interesting. That's actually kind of what I did when I started drawing when I first started drawing these comics to begin with. I had originally I started drawing comics way back when I was in, oh God, like early elementary school, probably like first or second grade. I was drawing comics, and being a young 6, 7 year old kid, I had some we'll call it interesting character choices and designs and stories. I won't get into too many details. That's a story for another time. But yeah, I started drawing comics actually at a very early age, and that was something that I had done um, all the way up through middle school and even into early high school. And then I don't know what happened. I stopped for the longest time. And then it wasn't until just the last couple of years that I got interested in it again. I got back into it. And funny enough, it was because of drawing comics of our pets, of our dogs and our cockatoo. And it started off as just sort of a little side hobby at home. I would draw comic series about them with just sheets of paper and an ink pen and colored pencils. Um, just real simple stuff, but it was just nice getting back into the swing of making cartoons again. It felt really nice. So I was doing that for a while. It was just kind of like I said, just a fun little side hobby, and I did that for several months, and then had the idea of, well, why shouldn't I just make this into a web comic? I could get a drawing tablet and I could put these online and just do something really silly with them, because with drawing software you have so many things you can do with it. So without even really giving it too much thoughts, um, yeah, I just ended up buying a drawing tablet because I realized, oh, that's something I want to do, and I just bought one and uh, didn't really have an understanding of all the features, all the functionality. Honestly, as someone who comes from an ink and paper cartoon background, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. Um, and I had those moments of self-doubt where I was thinking, "Oh God, what did I get myself into? Why am I doing this? This is a terrible idea." But I watched some video tutorials online, learned some basic ideas, and as I went, basically have just been teaching myself the ins and outs of digital drawing for the better part of the last 2 years. It's not something that I have any real prior experience or expertise in. It was just something that I decided I wanted to try doing, and just jumped in head first, no clue what was happening, and I feel like I've gotten a fairly good grasp on it as things have gone. But it's a learning process, but it's fun. Also, just while I am putting this sketch layer together, I just want to mention you might also uh, be seeing this on YouTube right now for the first time if you didn't get a chance to see the live stream. So if you are one of the YouTube viewers, thank you as well for watching. If you're not able to ever make it to a live stream, I am going to have copies of these videos posted to my YouTube channel as well if you want to catch them there, if that works out better. So if all things go according to plan, and we know how things can change there, but if everything goes according to plan, I am hoping to have a video of this drawing session on my YouTube channel. Hopefully Saturday morning is the plan. God willing, and the creek don't rise, and all those other fun little adages, whatever you want, however you want to say it. Just wish me luck with that, and let's hope there are no extreme technical difficulties on that level. But yes, video should be up Saturday morning on YouTube. So if you're ever not able to catch a live stream, you can always see the videos on there the day after the Friday comic is posted. Also, I also want to mention the sort of sketch preview that I'm putting together here right now. Um, these are also available on my Patreon page. I have those. Excuse me, they're just getting a drink of coffee. I have those available on Patreon the day before a new comic is posted. So if you're not able to catch the live stream, if you do want to still see a preview of what's coming, you can always catch the full preview sketch on Patreon the day before a new comic is posted. Also, I have a link to that in my profile here on Twitch. Also, if you're interested, I have a lot of other really fun little rewards and bonuses on Patreon as well. Apart from just having the preview sketches, you can also get access to exclusive monthly wallpapers for Floof and Feathers. You can participate in reader polls, and every month you have the option to select a physical print of one comic of your choice from the past month. So lots of fun stuff on there. And actually, speaking of reader polls, there is going to be one coming up fairly soon. I'm going to post that either this afternoon or tomorrow, or I say tomorrow, on Friday, May 27th. That will be posted. I'm going to have a reader poll where you can help select what the next part of the factory is that they go to see. If you're familiar with either the original novel of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or either of the movies that were made, there is a predetermined order to which rooms in the factory they go to. They start out here with the chocolate river, or what's going to be here, the kibble river instead. And then from there they go and they see the gum machine, and then they go to either the geese laying the chocolate eggs, or the squirrels doing nuts for the chocolate bars, depending on which version you're more familiar with. And then from there, they go to the chocolate bar TV broadcasting contraption. And then finally to the end of the story where it turns out, oh, hey, oh, Charlie, you won. You were pure of heart and all that. I'm not knocking it. It's sweet. We all love it. Um, but just the point is there's sort of a predetermined order to things. But I don't necessarily want to do that here if I don't have to. I think because really, Pippin is the only one going on the tour of the factory, so it's not like we have all these lessons that we have to teach these kids, and Hunger Games style killing them off one by one. So it's just going to be kind of fun doing these dog-themed parodies of the Wonka factory, and just seeing what Pippin and Olivia and Finnegan get up to while they're going through here. So that being said, I am going to have a reader poll put up on Patreon where you can help select what will be the next area of the factory that you want to see them going through. So if you are interested in that, definitely keep an eye out on Patreon. Like I said, I'm going to be posting that either this afternoon or tomorrow morning, just depending on scheduling availability. And of course, while you're there, be sure to check out everything else I have on offer as well. Like I said, there's Floof and Feathers wallpapers you can get, comic prints, all sorts of fun stuff. So it's definitely worth checking out. And I think I mentioned there's a link to that in my profile for anyone who is interested. Just do the final sketching here. It's so funny trying to get the curve of Finnegan and Pippin's snouts just right. I've been doing this for a couple years now. You would think that I would have it down to an exact science, but it's not always easy to get the pen to fully cooperate, especially because I do have to draw them with minor variations to help keep the difference. Um, Pippin's is usually a little narrower and a little longer downwards. Finn, I draw his snout a little shorter and a little wider, again, just to help differentiate them. Um, Not and funny enough, not so much for the reader, because once they're colored, they have. If you've seen the comics before, you know that Finn and Pip have two very different color schemes. So it's pretty easy to differentiate them that way. Uh, it's more just for my own benefit when I'm doing these sketches, because when everything is just in red lines, uh, and you have two dogs who are both beagle mixes. So they do have, even in real life, they have some very similar features and builds. So yeah, when I'm sketching it out and everything is just in these red lines, if I don't have those little subtle differences, it can be, whoa, what did I just do there? That has never happened before, actually. I don't know what that was. Anyway, but yeah, it can be a little difficult to tell them apart when I'm just doing these red outlines. So that's why I have a few little subtle differences, like the shape of their snouts, the shape of their ears, just any little cheat that I can give myself to help differentiate them while I'm sketching. And that way, I just remember, okay, I remember who's who, where they are, how to tell them apart a little bit easier. It just makes it a lot easier for me to manage in the long run. Because otherwise, it could get very confusing very quickly, and I just don't need that. So it's better to give myself all the help that I can. Again, especially, speaking as someone who, even a couple years later, I'll admit it. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. I do this all on the fly, but that's what keeps it fun and interesting, or at least I think so. It's all part of the learning process. So this is going to be an ongoing series with the little Willy Wonka parody. I don't actually know how many comics in total this series is going to run for. Pretty much, I'm just going to keep writing it until they, kind of hit all the high notes of the original story. Do a nice simple little parody of it, and just let it, kind of naturally evolve to a conclusion, and it will, it'll end when it's ready to. Um, like I said, one of the reasons why I was inspired to do this one is because, a lot of great comedy series, they seem to always end up eventually having a Willy Wonka parody at some point. I think it just sort of seems like a rite of passage. One of my own personal favorites, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on this. One of my own personal favorites is Fry and the Slurm Factory from Futurama. I think that is probably one of the best Willy Wonka parodies. And I'll also admit, I know for a fact, what I'm doing here with my comic series, it is not going to be anywhere near that level of brilliance. I'm just one person. I can only do so much. But I try. I'm going to give it my all, if nothing else. So I mean, with that episode of Futurama, there is of course a lot to live up to. Um, but I will certainly do what I can. Let's see, flip that around. Whenever I can, I like being able, if a character isn't changing their position too much, it's nice to have them on a separate layer, and I can just pull them over and kind of rework what I've already done, and that way I don't have to draw more than I have to, especially when sketching. Um, it's funny, the actual sketching process of the comic is what takes the longest time overall. Once the initial sketch is finished, everything else moves along very quickly. It is an absolute breeze from there. Because then I just have to do a black outline over top of what I've already drawn, and then just pop in some color, and that's that. But getting the initial sketch laid out definitely takes the longest overall time. So any kind of little trick like that I can use to help save time for myself. Uh, I always like to take advantage of that. That's one of those things that I've learned as I've been developing this comic series and learning more about the ins and outs of doing digital artwork, which again, as I mentioned, is very much outside my original area of expertise. So just go ahead. We're going to save that sketch layer. Like I said, I will be uploading that to Patreon as soon as I'm done with my live stream here. So if you want to go check that out, that'll be uploaded shortly after this video concludes. So now that we have that, now we can go ahead, start inking over. So we'll make that, fade that out a little bit, get our black pen, and we're ready. But yeah, as I was saying, with teaching yourself tips and tricks, that was one of the first things I learned to do for myself, just to make life easier when drawing comics. Um, and and anyone else who does this kind of digital artwork will agree with me. And if you're looking to get into it yourself, uh, if there's one piece of advice I can give you, it is this: using the layers tool is going to be your best friend. That is not an exaggeration. I don't, if I did not have access to that layering tool, I I don't know what I would do, because it makes it so much easier to just move things around independently, um, not have to worry about erasing in entire sections of your drawing if something has to move. Yeah, so if you are getting into any kind of digital artwork, the very first thing you should do is find out where that layer tool button is and take full advantage of it. It will be your saving grace. And see, this is another reason why I like doing sketches first. I'm doing the inking on Finn's top hat here as Floofy Wonka, and I drew and I realized that brim is way too wide. I don't like that. So here, doing the inking process, I have the chance to fix that. I don't have to worry about going back and erasing that and undoing any of my previous work. It makes things a lot easier. Before, if I kept that wide brim, he would look more like the weed from V for Vendetta, and that's, again, that is a whole different story from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, granted, I guess it's still a story about a very eccentric stranger who kills off people who he views as dangerous to society and then leaves everything that he has to a protege. Okay, I take it back. Maybe V for Vendetta and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory are actually the same story. Um, that's gonna really change everything about how I watch both of those movies now. I'm gonna have, actually, you know what? Forget uploading the preview to Patreon. I'm gonna have to go reconsider my entire childhood after I'm done with drawing this. I'm gonna hold off on that existential crisis until I'm done drawing this, just for everyone else's sake, though. Wow, I really didn't think I would have a breakthrough like that today. Very interesting. One other thing, I'm actually, I'm actually kind of sorry that I'm doing this stream at the time that I am. It's currently, if you're watching if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can watch it whenever. But if you are seeing the live stream right now, I am currently drawing this at 10 a.m. Eastern time in the U.S. Um, and the reason why it's actually kind of unfortunate timing is because our cockatoo Olivia, I've drawn her here as the one of the Oompa Loompa characters there. You'll see later. But she actually just recently, actually at 10 o'clock, went in for her morning nap because she is a spoiled, rotten little princess. In fact, it actually probably would have made sense for her to play the part of Veruca Salt in this Willy Wonka parody, just because that's pretty much her whole attitude and approach to life. She is spoiled rotten, and she gets whatever she wants, whenever she wants. And I know full well that she is just manipulating us to do that, and I am weak and do nothing to stop it. So, yeah, that would have been a very fitting character for her to play as well. But yeah, she actually just went in for her morning nap a little before 10, and it would have been so much fun to be able to have her on webcam and just get everyone to meet her. So who knows? Maybe in a future live stream, I can start a little bit earlier, and I can bring her and Finnegan and Pippin on the camera, and everyone can meet them. That would actually be kind of fun, I think. So who knows? Once this live stream series takes off a little bit, hopefully, maybe in the future I'll be able to bring some of them on camera as well, and everyone can get a chance to meet the real life inspiration for this comic series. Like I said, they are, I mean, Willy Wonka aside, the comic series is very much inspired by real life animals. We have two dogs and a parrot at our house, so it gets a little rambunctious sometimes. It gets a little noisy. I'm actually surprised that the dogs Finn and Pip are being as quiet this morning as they are. I think they're both upstairs taking a nap of their own right now. Actually, funny enough. But anyway, I am recording with a headset, so if something changes, if they hear something, hopefully it shouldn't create too much background noise. Can't promise anything. You can only do so much when you have two dogs in the house. Um, I don't think the mail has been dropped off yet, but if there ever is a time where they're going to run downstairs and make noise, it's when the mail is dropped off at the front door. So I'll keep people updated as that goes. I'll let you know what's happening there. But hopefully shouldn't be too much noise. So here, just doing the inking process on this first panel. This is going to be, actually, I should probably explain a little bit about what's going on in these panels since I don't have the dialogue balloons as of yet. So here, we have Pippin has finally gotten inside the kibble factory. He is starting his tour. He was lured inside by the promise of the potential to win free kibble for life, which got him very excited. I mean, I don't know any dog that would pass up something like that. So he's inside the factory now, starting the tour. So this first panel, he is being introduced to the Kibble River, which again, as I mentioned, is what we have in place of the Chocolate River. Um, I don't think having a chocolate river around a couple of dogs, especially a couple of dogs like Finn and Pippin, that would probably not work out too well. Um, Despite the fact that they know full well that chocolate is bad for them, but that's not going to stop them from trying to eat it. Both of them they will eat anything you put in front of them that looks even mildly edible. Also, and Finn has eaten chocolate before, and he knows full well what it does to him, and he would still try to eat it if given half a chance. It was actually a number of years ago. My fiance, for her birthday, I made her a homemade batch of these uh, giant chocolate cupcakes with a peanut butter frosting. They were delicious, and I think we got to eat a couple of them. And then they were put away in one of those giant, you know, food preservation tubs. It had a sealed lid. It was put up on a high counter in the kitchen, and we went out for dinner. I think something happened. We were out of the house, and Finnegan managed to jump up onto the counter, opened the container lid, and ate every single cupcake that was left inside. And that was probably a good like 10 or so of these chocolate cupcakes that were left. Um, yeah, so he did not have a great rest of the evening after that. And I do feel bad for him for it. I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, because I mean, he felt sick, he was in pain, he didn't enjoy it. I'm not a monster. I feel bad for him, but at the same time, we both kind of had that reaction of, well, you did it to yourself. We put this up here because we knew and you knew that you're not supposed to have this, and you decided you wanted to have it anyway. It was, you know, you did it to yourself, buddy. We're really sorry that you feel that you're sick, but you know, maybe don't jump up onto the kitchen counter and eat things that you're not supposed to next time. And he thankfully has not done that since. But this is also the same guy who ate an entire bag of uh, of gummy bears one time. I was not there to witness that one, um, thankfully, because from what I heard, the aftermath was messy, we'll call it. I am not going to go into the details here because this is a family show. Um, so I will just leave that up to everyone's imagination. You can fill in the blanks yourself. But yeah, that's one of several reasons why this is going to be a kibble river and not a chocolate river. And then here in the second panel, you know, anyone familiar with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory knows that the main room of the factory had all sorts of fantastic things like trees that grew candy on them. So here, this is going to be a tree that just has bones growing on it. Again, because you know, just like I don't know any dog that would pass up a kibble river, I don't know any dog that would ever pass up a bone. Pippin especially, this little guy. He this dog hoards bones like a dragon hoards gold. Um, his favorite place to perch is on the couch, and when I say on the couch, I mean along the back of the couch. He will make a nest for himself out of blankets all along the back of the couch, and he will go through his toy basket and grab every bone he can find, and he will bring them up onto the back of the couch where he has made his nest, and he will bury those bones in the folds of the blanket, and will just sit on it like a treasure hoard, and will just pick and choose different bones to chew on throughout the day. But that's his little treasure hoard. I mean, and you know, Finn, he loves chewing on bones as well. Um, but he doesn't go quite as quite as crazy about it as Pippin does, or I should say he doesn't plan ahead as much as Pippin does. Finn will just grab a bone in the moment and chew on it, but Pippin will specifically set aside a hoard of bones so that he will always know where to find them and get a hold of them. Finnegan's problem with bones is that when he has something that he is chewing on or playing with, whether it be um, a bone, a squeaky toy, anything that he has that he is playing with, he gets very protective of it. And we do often have to remind him of the importance of sharing with his little brother because he is not always good about that. And in his defense, it doesn't help. Um, it doesn't help that Pippin has a really bad habit of he will see whatever Finn is playing with and will decide that he wants to play with it too and will come over and just kind of grab it out of Finn's mouth and walk away with it. So I think that's definitely been a part of Finn learning to be protective of his toys that he's using. So it's unfortunate, but we're we've had Pippin for close to a year now. We are still working on teaching both of them to share. It's a work in progress. But that's also because, like I said, we just adopted Pippin early last July, so he is still very much a more recent addition to the household. And Finn has never had to share with another dog before, really in any capacity. He's always been the only dog full time in the household. We have family members who they also have dogs, and they'll spend the nights at each other's houses and they play together, and that's all fine. But until we got Pip, Finnegan had never had a full time canine sibling. So that was a big learning curve for him. We did get Olivia a little bit before Pippin. She came along. Oh God, what 3.5 years ago? I think we got. She actually just turned 6 in April, but we've had her for about 3.5, 4 years now, something like that. Um, so she was also a pretty big learning curve for Finnegan to get used to. Because he had also never been around a bird full time before. So he didn't quite know what to make of her. When she first came along, he would not even be in the same room as her. So when we got Pippin, the fact that they would they would at least be in the same room together, if even if Finn didn't always want to share his stuff with him, that was at least a huge piece of progress over when we brought Olivia home. And if she even came into the living room while he was there, he would take off running and try to go hide somewhere because he was just scared to death of her, which I find funny. Looks like the video paused here. Not sure what's going. Let's see. I'm gonna try to edit that real quick. Very interesting. Oh, uh-oh. Interesting. Not sure what's going on here. Looks like for some reason the video paused. Let me see. Okay. Oh, okay, I see. Something happened with the video receiver. Give me a second here. We're going to bring that right back up online. Yeah, looks like the video receiver dropped. So we're just going to take a second here, get that going again. Okay, there we go. Okay, and we're back. Yes, there we go. That's working. Okay. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Not sure why that dropped, but I appreciate everyone's patience as we go along. There we go. So there's Livy. Let's see. Finish drawing her there. There we go. Her little Oompa Loompa hairdo. But yeah, so as I said, it's been a learning process with Finn and Pippin learning how to share with each other, but they're doing well. So there we are, Pippin being introduced to the Oompa Livies working here in the kibble factory. And so like I mentioned before, why? Yeah, not happy. Let's try redrawing that wing. That's one of the other things I really like about being able to do this kind of digital artwork is that there, at least in my opinion, it makes it feel like there's not as much um, pressure to make everything perfect the first time. It's very easy to go back and correct small, simple mistakes. You don't have to worry about ripping the paper with an eraser or coloring over something the wrong way. Um, it's a really nice medium to work with, especially with layers and everything. It's a really nice format to work with. And again, that's speaking as someone who is still relatively new to the online art scene, who does someone who doesn't always know what they're doing, who isn't as practiced and experienced as a lot of people. Um, so it's nice knowing that I can take some of the pressure off myself and just have fun drawing the sorts of things that I enjoy. Okay. All right, so we have the inking layer done now. I'm going to go ahead and remove the sketch from underneath, make it a little bit easier to go ahead. Actually, I'm going to turn that back on for just a sec because it looks like I forgot to draw part of Finnegan's head, and that is not good. He's going to need his full head. So now we get to do, this is one of my favorite parts. I'm going to go ahead and color this in. Also, I see there are a couple of new viewers on the stream, so just want to say hi, welcome, thank you for joining me. Um, I, if you just popped in, if you're new, there was a little bit of a technical difficulty earlier. I had to reconnect the screen capture here. But yes, just welcome to anyone new who's watching now. Thank you for being here. Um, this is actually the first live stream drawing for the Floof and Feathers webcomic series. Just drawing our new cartoon that's going to be posted on Friday. So now that we have the basic outline drawn, we can go ahead and start coloring in. Let me see. So let's start with Finnegan. This is one of those. I have one of these other little tricks I picked up for myself when I'm working. I actually made. You can see here it's labeled as um, right down there by that pink dot. It's labeled F and F. I have a pre-made color palette for the most common colors that I use for my comics, so that way I'm not hunting around trying to find them. I can just keep them all organized, so they're the different colors for their fur, for their collars, their eyes. I have a few colors that I use for Olivia's beak. She actually has a few different colors in there. So it's just a really nice way of helping to keep myself organized. Yes, okay, make sure that's turned on as a reference layer, because that's going to help once we start dropping in colors. So for Finnegan, I use, he does have darker fur, but I don't use, I don't want to use a, whoa, no, I don't want to fill in the outline. There we go, that's better. I don't use a fully black color when I do his fur, just because if I did that, then there really isn't a darker color option, and then there's no real way to effectively do shading. And when you're shading your colors, that's where all the depth comes from. So I could do it as just a fully black color drop, but then once you do that, there's really nowhere to go. So instead, I use that really, really dark gray that's almost black. And then I'm going to pull up an actual black on my pen here. We'll go ahead and just start doing some simple shading on his ears, around his collar, just to give it a little bit more of a three-dimensional look, as much as we can. I know full well my art style is not one that lends itself to a great depth of what you could call realism by any stretch of the imagination. I am fully aware of that. And whoa, did that turn off again? Okay. For some reason, this does not want to stay connected. There we go. Okay. I think I was readjusting my seat, and I think I accidentally tapped a button the wrong way. Anyway, but yeah, I know that my art style is not one that lends itself to a great deal of realism. Um, Personally, I'm fine with that. I know that fully well, and also that's just not really what I'm going for. Um, Also because I just know that the drawing realism is not my strength. I have tried many times before, and the simple truth is I'm just not that good at it. I'm really not. I need more practice than I realistically have time for in order to develop a realistic drawing style. So instead, I have just this simple, pop cartoony look, but that's what I'm going for. That's what I like. That's what I'm good at. So that's more the style I tend to go with. But even with that being the case, I still like to use shading and textures just to try to make the cartoons, pop a little bit so they're not just flat images on the screen. And actually, if you, oh God, God forbid, if you've actually gone all the way back and read the very, very first comics in the Floof and Feather series when I started almost 2 years ago. Oh boy, those ones are rough. I will be I will be the first to admit that. That was in the very, very early days of when I was doing digital drawing, when I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. I had never picked a drawing style before. never worked with any apart from just pen on paper. All my previous experience with drawing comics was very simplistic paper doodles. Um, yeah, so those early cartoons especially are very very rough in appearance. There's no depth or texture to anything. The outlines of the characters are not clean by any stretch of the imagination. Um, if you do go that far back in my comic history on my homepage on my website, if you do read those, the only thing I will say is browse at your own peril because they are not easy on the eyes. Is what I'll say. It was a rough time, but I was in my defense, I was just getting started. I was still learning, and I feel like even for as simplistic and cartoony as my style is, I personally like to think that I have definitely uh, come a long way since those early days, or at the very least, I would hope so. That's just me. Okay, let's see. We've got their fur. I think we can go ahead. Let's do their collars and bow ties. And again, just apologies to everyone for, handful of technical difficulties as we go. I know sometimes the image kind of pops in and out a little bit. Not entirely sure what's going on there, but I do apologize for that inconvenience. As I said, this is my first experience with live streaming a drawing ever, so very much a learning curve as I go. So I do truly appreciate everyone's time and patience as I learn just what the heck I'm doing, which seems to be the case with so many things in my life. But, it wouldn't be fun otherwise. I think I've got control of it now. Should be anyway, I hope. But yeah, you can see a difference in drawing quality if you look at my more recent comics versus, like I said, going back to the very, very first ones I ever did. Um, they are they are not at all easy on the eyes. So one thing I've actually been doing, I've done a couple of them. It's an ongoing project I'm going to be doing more of as well. Is actually doing some remastered versions of some of those very first comics in the series, just to kind of show a difference of how my drawing style has changed and adapted over just the last 2 years. I think it's a project that is definitely well worth pursuing, just because I think it'd be fun to show just how I think it's fun to look back and see just just how much you've been able to change as an artist, and that goes for anyone, not even just for myself, but for anyone who does artwork, who does drawing, who does painting, who does writing, anything. It's always fun to go back and well, I say fun. It can be interesting to go back and look at your very early work when you were first starting out that you were so proud of, and then you see what you're able to do now. you just think, wow, I really did that, huh? Okay, that was an interesting choice. So that's kind of where I'm at here, but it's all fun. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and draw their eyes now. This is actually um, one of my favorite parts of drawing the comics. I love doing their eyes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with just a single color, draw a nice little bulb there. Went a little too wide with that one. Start out, did it again. Get control of your pen. There we go. We'll do Pip, and then we'll get this darker brown for Finnegan's eyes. Draw him there. And then once we have that single color, I'm going to go ahead and lock that. I mentioned before that using your layer tool is one of your best friends when you're doing digital artwork. The alpha lock feature is also a huge help when drawing. So we're going to lock that and bring up the noise brush, get a little bit lighter color, and just use that, do some real white marbling in their eyes. Again, that just gives a little bit of texture. It's not just a flat single color that way. Because, eyes aren't just one solid color. There's always a little bit of texturing. Go back to our inking pen. Draw the pupil. There we go. And then finally, the little dot of white. Show the white glinting in their eye. I think the reason why I enjoy drawing their eyes so much is because this is the closest I get to any semblance of what you could call realism. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good if I do say so myself. So now we'll go ahead and add in their speckles. That is very important. If you've ever seen pictures I've posted of the real life Finnegan and Pippin on my social media pages, they have a lot of speckles in their fur. Let's see. A little splotch of green there where there shouldn't be. But again, layering to the rescue. There we go. Yeah, they have a lot of speckles. I've shared some pictures of them before. So if you're interested in seeing them in real life, you can check out my Instagram page. I also post daily comics there, as well as on my home website, on Tumblr, on Pinterest, on webtoons.com, and even on TikTok. So if you're interested in seeing more and catching up with the series, you can catch Floof and Feathers on pretty much every social media platform out there. It is available. I definitely do everything I can to keep the series accessible to readers. But like I said, if you do check out Floof and Feathers on Instagram, where we are at Floof and Feathers Comic, I think I should also have a link to Instagram in my Twitch as well. For anyone who doesn't follow that page yet, if you're interested, definitely check that out. That's where you'll see updates about comics and things like that. But I've posted some pictures of the real life inspirations behind these comics as well, a few here and there. So if you do want to see them, their real life counterparts, you can go check that out as well. And I should also add, if you do that, Finnegan and Olivia, that's the Finnegan, the older dog, and Olivia, the cockatoo here. The two of them actually have their own Instagram accounts because why not? Why not give your pets their own Instagram page, right? So if you really want to keep up to date with all of their latest antics, go check that out as well. It is well worth it, if I do say so myself. Let's see. I think we can merge some of these colors down here, free up some space. We can work on Olivia down here. Give her blue eyeshadow. That's one of the funny things with when people meet Olivia for the first time. She's a Goffin's cockatoo, and if you look up a picture of a Goffin's cockatoo, it just looks like a little white bird. So whenever people get to see her, meet her in person for the first time, they are always amazed by just how much color she actually has in her. It's pretty incredible because most of her feathers are mainly white, but she does have very rosy little pink cheeks. She also has a lot of peachy pink color underneath her feathers. So if you're scratching her head and you kind of run your fingers through her feathers, you will see there's actually a lot of pink underneath. And then she also has this natural kind of blue coloring around her eyes. It's really interesting. So she actually has quite a bit of color to her, which always catches people off guard the first time. And I hear at least one of the dogs approaching now. Probably not going to pick it up in the microphone, so if you do hear a ruckus in the background with them, I apologize. There's her. Like I said, she has a couple of different colors in her beak, actually, so I do a little bit of a gradient with there. Now we can give her a nice bright green Oompa Loompa wig. There we go. I think that's a good color. Perfect. Yeah, we'll go with that. See, so most of that's done. Let's go ahead and color this tree. So this is actually something else that I found when I was teaching myself how to draw with a drawing tablet. In my opinion, there's no right or wrong way to do art. It's all about just how you put the tools to use. So this is interesting. One of the tools in Procreate actually, I don't even know where it is because I don't use it. But I know, yeah, there's a texture for a wood grain. It looks like a wood paneled floor. I hate this brush. I've always hated using it. If you whenever in my other comics when they're in the house, and I have the wooden floors, I never actually use that wood grain brush. I've never gotten the hang of it, and it just comes off looking. It looks too fake in my opinion. I don't know. I just don't like it. So what I do when I'm doing wood grain, I will do this kind of lighter medium color brown, then get a darker color, and I will actually use the dry brush in painting, get that down to the right size, make sure the layer is locked, and then just do a few sweeps of that. And I think that looks like pretty good, pretty decent wood texturing. That's what I do anyway. Go ahead. Get a, maybe not, yeah, that's good. Let's see. See if we can't get some nice weaves for the tree. That should be good. Then we'll go ahead and color in the bones growing on the tree there. Just drop not a fully white, but just kind of a gray. And then of course we can get a little bit of a darker shade. Oh, and we are still on the leaf brush. That's not going to work. There we go. Yeah, just to give it a little bit of depth there. It doesn't need a ton just because these bones are, they're going to be smaller just up there at the top corner of the page. But just anything helps, I think. Now we can go ahead. Yeah, save ourselves some more room. And let's go ahead and start doing some of the backgrounds. Drop down some dark green there for the grass on the factory floor. And the reason I put that behind everything else is when I have these little spaces, I can just color that in really quickly and not have to worry about disturbing anything else that I've drawn. Another little patch there. Darken that up a little bit. Get our noise brush again. Give that a little bit of texturing. Perfect. And then we'll just pull and draw their shadows on the grass. Shade a little bit around the tree roots there. Get under Pippin's feet. And then for Olivia, just do a big oval underneath her since she's not really flush with the ground. She's kind of crouched over it a little bit. There we go. Oh, and I just realized I need to color her in this last panel still. So I will get to that in just a second here. There we go. Draw her little shadow again. Like I said, I am hoping that eventually we'll be able to have them on webcam. That would be really fun to just let everyone get to actually meet the cast of Floof and Feathers. I think that could be fun. Let's go ahead and pull over that nice bright green hair again. Get that blue around her eyes. Then just a little bit of pink in the cheeks. There we go. And again, make sure we're using the right brush. That's always important. There we go. That looks better. Okay, so there's all the grass. Let's go ahead and, yeah, we'll do the wall behind them. Color all that in real quick. Olivia looks good there. That's all good. You have to remember to do in between their whiskers there where they stick out. That's a very easy spot to miss. And actually, in some past comics, I have completely forgotten to color that part in until it was already posted, and then I had to go back and fix it afterwards because I noticed, and it was driving me crazy. Uh, so just It's one of those little things I always have to remind myself of is make sure you color in between their whiskers. It's very easy to forget. Let's see. So we have that. Let's go ahead, add another layer. Let's do the Kibble River. Pop that right in there. No, I don't like that. Let's see if we can't figure something else out. Let's see what tools we have at our disposal, because that would be much easier than trying to draw 1,000 tiny little circles by hand. Let's see what that looks like. Probably not going to be right, but we can... Oh, actually, that's not too bad. Yeah, I think I can live with that. That's not too bad. Again, it's better than trying to draw all of that by hand, so I will take it. And then really the only thing left, we just need to do some shading around all the parts of their white fur. What I used to do is I would actually fill that in with white on a separate layer with the background turned off so I could see it. Instead, I find it's easier now just add a layer behind everything else and just get some white gray, and then I make sure I'm actually using the right inking brush first, and then I can just go in and just do that. Makes it a lot easier to manage. Let's get the tip of his tail. There we go. Get around his snout there. And actually, Pip's missing a few speckles on his arm here. There we go. That's much better. Okay. Tip of the tail again. And and that's what's nice too is this coloring process gives you a chance to go back and look over your work, and you can makes it very easy to make corrections as you go and make sure that you're not forgetting anything, because it is easy to lose track and forget to do something. There's that. Almost done. Just get a little bit around Livy's green wig. Perfect. Okay. And that should cover, I think. Oh, wait a sec. Little spot of wall there that we missed. There we go. That should cover the coloring, I believe. So, with that being said, now we can go ahead and actually put the text into the comic. So why don't we go ahead and do that? So I also like this because using Procreate for this as well, because they have this huge collection of fonts you can choose from. So it's really easy to find exactly what you need for whatever you're doing. That's just going to be a size 40. We don't need it to be giant. I have found, with using Procreate at least, it makes more sense to do the text first and then draw the text bubble later. And if you stick around, you'll see why. I do it this way because doing it this way, you can place the text and size it first, and then you can form the speech balloon around it. So that way you're not trying to cram all your dialogue into a pre-fitting balloon. You can do it the other way around and fit the balloon around the text that you've written. At least in my opinion, in my experience, it just seems to work out a lot better that way. We don't want that. There we go. That's better. And you can see we've accidentally changed the text color, but that is an easy fix. Okay, here we are. That's nice too, because that way it's easier to drag your text around and put it where you want it first before you set up the speech bubbles. Very, very user-friendly in my experience. Almost done here. It's nice too because you can go back and select text, and you can do text effects on just things that you want to. If, you know, if it cooperates. That's always the trick. There we go. Okay, nice. All right, so now that we have the text all in place, now we can put the balloons around it. Make sure we have our, again, you make always double checking that we have the right brush. Even I say that like I don't make that mistake all the time. Like I know what I'm doing. Okay. Make sure that's above. And now I'll just go ahead, start putting those around their dialogue. And I know I mentioned this before, but just in case anyone else joins in, or if you're watching this on YouTube, um, you can catch the full preview sketches for comics the day before they're posted on my if you check out my Patreon page. And also, as this series progresses, they're going to be touring the rest of the Wonka Kibble Factory. There is going to be a reader poll that I'm going to post either this afternoon or tomorrow on Friday the 27th. That'll be by Friday the 27th. There will be a reader poll on my Patreon as well, where you can help decide what the next room of the Wonka Kibble Factory is that they explore during their tour. So if you want to give some reader feedback, definitely be sure to check that out. Just as a reminder. Okay, basic bubbles are in place. So now we can go ahead, start making the little tails on the balloons. Make sure the tails are actually going the right direction as well. That's always important. Always want it to be directed towards the person who is saying the words, which you would think is cartooning 101, but it's easy to forget. Okay. Just erase that little bit. And we can just drag and drop in coloring and fill in the speech balloons once they're done. There's that. And we are just about finished, because now we just have to color in the text bubbles, which is a pretty easy process. And look at that. We're all done. A brand new Floof and Feathers comic come to life right before your eyes. So that's pretty much it for today. This comic will be posted tomorrow morning. That will be on on my home website. That'll be on my Instagram page, Tumblr, Pinterest, Webtoons.com, TikTok, any format that you want to use to read this as well as the full Floof and Feathers series. There's any number of ways to get in touch and to read the series. I do have links to my social media and my home websites on my profile here. If you want to check those out, as well as links to my Patreon. Like I mentioned, you can get early access to the preview sketches if you ever miss a live stream. You can also participate in those reader polls that I mentioned. You'll get access to exclusive wallpapers that I draw, and you will have an option to select a physical print of a past comic every month. So lots of fun stuff to check out there. Lots of ways to read the series and get in touch. But like I said, with that being said, just thanks for being here. Really appreciate everyone's time and patience. And I should be back again next Thursday, same time. I'm going to try to make this a weekly thing if at all possible. So aiming again for next Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern again for another live stream for next Friday's comic. So hope to see you all there again. And just want to say, thanks again for joining me, for being here, and for being so patient with all those couple of technical difficulties as I learned the process of everything. But yeah, just really appreciate everyone's time and patience, and hopefully should see everyone next week. So bye for now, and see you next Thursday.